In a quiet Arizona suburb where order was everything and the rules were never broken, one man dared to challenge the system not for glory, but to save a life. What began as a peaceful return home turned into a clash between compassion and control, loyalty and law. This is the true story of Alejandro Reyes, a former medevac pilot, and how one emergency forced a gated community to face what really matters. When Alejandro Reyes returned to Prescott, Arizona, he wasn't chasing nostalgia. He came home for one reason: to care for his father, Emilio, whose once commanding voice had grown quieter with each passing year. Alejandro had spent most of his adult life flying into chaos, first as a medevac pilot in Iraq, then in wildfire zones across the West. But Prescott was supposed to be where life finally slowed down. They moved into Silvercrest Hills because it was safe: clean streets, quiet nights, security, a gated community that promised order. But it didn't take long for Alejandro to realize that the gates weren't just to keep danger out. Sometimes they trapped it in. Deborah Stanton, the HOA president, was waiting for him before he even finished unpacking. "You'll need to repaint that mailbox," she said, tapping a clipboard. "It's not within the approved color range." Alejandro thought she was joking. She wasn't. In the weeks that followed, citations arrived like junk mail. His trash bins were visible from the curb. His flagpole was half an inch too tall. Even his wind chimes were audible beyond the property line. Alejandro stayed polite, even amused. After flying into war zones, HOA politics felt small. He smiled, complied when it made sense, ignored the rest. But Deborah didn't like being ignored. Then, one warm Sunday evening, as Emilio shuffled into the kitchen, he collapsed. No warning, no sound, just his body crumpling to the tile. Alejandro was kneeling beside him in seconds, checking pulse, calling 911. He barked clear instructions, adrenaline kicking in like muscle memory. He thought it would be like the field again: do everything right, stabilize, wait for evac. But this time, evac hit a wall. The ambulance was stopped at the Silvercrest gate. The dispatcher told Alejandro the paramedics were being held up by access issues. He sprinted to the front entrance, still on the call, and there was Deborah, standing straight, hair perfect, clipboard in hand. "They need to sign in. Visitor registration is mandatory," she said. "He's dying," Alejandro snapped. "That rule doesn't apply in a medical emergency. Then they'll need HOA authorization. The board hasn't approved emergency override protocols yet." Alejandro stared at her. He couldn't tell if she was delusional or simply didn't care. Every second counted. He didn't have time to argue with a woman who thought paperwork mattered more than a pulse. He walked away without a word, his hands already dialing. Not 911, not a neighbor. He called Ramirez. Within minutes, the familiar thump of helicopter rotors echoed over the rooftops of Silvercrest Hills. Alejandro had once saved lives with this crew. Now, he was calling in a favor to save the only life that mattered. As the helicopter descended onto his front lawn, Deborah ran out shouting about property values and unauthorized airspace use. But no one listened. The medics jumped out, assessed Emilio, stabilized him, and within 3 minutes, he was airborne, headed for Phoenix Memorial. Alejandro didn't go with them. He stood on his ruined lawn and watched Deborah fume, the sound of the chopper still hanging in the air like a warning. The video, because of course someone filmed it, went viral by morning. Deborah called an emergency board meeting the next day. She came prepared with fines and penalties, totaling over $4,000. Unauthorized aircraft landing, damage to HOA grounds, failure to follow community emergency procedures. Alejandro didn't speak. He didn't have to. Someone else did. Anthony Delgado, a soft-spoken retired judge and one of the longest-standing board members, cleared his throat. There's a bylaw, he said calmly. Section 4, Article 12. In times of demonstrable emergency, any HOA member may invoke personal discretion if it prevents greater harm. Deborah's mouth opened, then shut. Delgado continued. Furthermore, leadership decisions can be overturned by majority vote. I move to dismiss all charges against Mr. Reyes. Another hand went up, then another. Unanimous. And, Delgado added, I move to remove Ms. Stanton from her position. Silence. Then a single clap. Then the rest. Deborah didn't scream. She didn't protest. She walked out without a word, her clipboard left behind on the table. The change was slow, but real. Colonel Hensley let his hedges grow wild. The Patel twins set up a lemonade stand on the corner. An old man down the street painted his fence yellow, and no one stopped him. The gates still closed at night, but something invisible had opened. Weeks passed. Emilio recovered, slower now, but stronger every day. Alejandro sat with him on the porch, watching the street he had once thought too quiet for his restless soul. Then one afternoon, a moving truck pulled up to Deborah's old house. Out stepped a woman with short black hair and a confident stride. Dr. Olivia Marquez, chief flight surgeon, former partner in chaos. Alejandro hadn't seen her since their last deployment. What? You thought I'd let you be the only emergency responder on the block, she said with a grin. Alejandro laughed. And for the first time in a long time, it felt easy. Later that night, as he walked with Emilio beneath the quiet glow of the street lamps, Alejandro paused by the gate, the same one that had once been locked while his father lay dying. He looked at the sky, the stars, the absence of helicopters. We broke the rules, he said, and we saved a life. His father smiled. Maybe that's what the rules were missing. Behind them, the neighborhood buzzed with a new kind of life. Kids shouting, sprinklers whirring, dogs barking without anyone filing a complaint. No one stood at the gate, no one ever would again.